Hello everybody and welcome to Starting Small Music. I'm Justin McCormick and you're about to hear a conversation with an artist, musician, and music industry professional on their journey and how they got to where they are today. At Starting Small, we like to take you on a journey uncovering the untold stories of your favorite songs and artists. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Just keep a smile on your face and it'll be okay. Try not to be bitter, you gotta do it either way. Keep a smile on your face and it'll be okay. So when life throws a jab, you gotta duck out of the way.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Starting Small Music Podcast. Today we have Darrick Cline, drummer for Dylan Scott. How you doing today, man?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me on.
No problem, man. Glad to have you. So, getting around your story, you grew up in Franklin, Kentucky. What was your childhood like?
Franklin's a really small little town. It's like agriculture and sports.
Yeah.
So, actually, it's pretty dope. I got my Kentucky Headhunter shirt on today. I don't know how many people know who the Headhunters are. So, they're from like 35 minutes from Franklin.
Oh, no way.
They're a little small town in Kentucky, too. And so, like, there was some of that. But mostly musically, my dad plays bass. My great, I don't know how many greats, aunts played Dulcimer in the Grand Ole Opry. Cora Kline's her name. That. And so that's pretty cool. She's in Country Music Hall of Fame.
Wow.
So we've got a musical history there. But growing up there was played baseball and played drums. Wow. That was the two things. And so my brother and I were then and still are heavily involved in our church in Bowling Green, Kentucky. That's where I live now. Yeah. So Bowling Green's like 45 minutes north of Nashville. So we're real close there in Nashville. But anyway, that's what it was like. Sorry, that was a roundabout way of saying it was. My dad does commercial farming and plays music. So I was around that. I was around baseball, and I was around music.
Hey, what better way to grow up?
I mean, I agree.
Now, your dad sang a lot of Southern gospel around the house, right? I heard.
Yeah.
So how did that early music influence kind of your taste in music?
So what's cool about my dad that I tell people is my brother and I both got the first record my dad brought home to me. I say record CD. Was Back in Black, AC/DC.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, I mean, if you're a musician, that's just especially drums, that's just man, they're just the tightest band.
For sure. No
show them, this meat and potatoes. And so he brought that home to me, and so that was the first, rock music I had heard. And so before then, like you just said, was mainly Southern gospel, so I got both sides of the spectrum really fast. Yeah. And my dad plays bass, sings tenor, and was in a Southern Gospel quartet for tons of years.
That's dope.
And that's actually the first traveling gig Garrett and I did, as we would go play. Saturdays, Sundays at churches, Southern Gospels.
Oh yeah, so going around town doing different churches?
Around different small towns in Kentucky, and I wouldn't call that necessarily touring, but I mean. The group that we played with, my dad's group, when we had a band in the trailer, we played.
You were getting your feet wet.
We played a ton, and that music, cause I follow Jesus too. That music, this holds a really sweet place in my heart because I learned so much about music and about Jesus, growing up playing and listening to that music, and we did it as a family. So my dad played bass, I played drums. Garrett, who plays bass. As I think is the best bass player in the world, played acoustic guitar and keyboards, and then it was four guys singing. So we did it as a family. And my uncle played guitar.
Well, no way.
So we did it as a family. So it was pretty cool. Yeah.
Now, would you think that the Back in Black albums what made you interested in playing drums, or was it already in Southern gospel stuff getting you on to?
My dad. Well, when I was a lot younger, my dad had a group that had a drummer. And I was just so fascinated with drums. Always had been. And like I said, grew up around going to my dad's concerts, doing that kind of thing. Being at a church, that music is an extremely important thing at our church. And I was just always enamored with it. And I just told my parents when I was probably 6, I was like, I can play drums. Pretty arrogantly, but I was like, hey, I can play drums.
You just knew it.
And my 7th birthday, they got me a drum kit.
We're talking like a toy kit, or
I'm talking about like a real kit.
Yeah,
you know, and that mom and dad brought home a real kit, sat down, and most drummers have this story, but I just kind of naturally had the 2 and 4 thing, you know. And so that's where my playing actually started at 7. This turned 30 last Thursday, so that's 23 years. Is that 23 years?
Jeez, never was good at math.
23 years for me neither. In fact, funny math story real quick. My math teacher in college, I made it through 2 years of college for Dylan Scott Call, and I'm sure we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But my math teacher, so I was in 116E. I know what you're thinking, like 116E, that's like for special. Like, that's like guys that are really challenged at math, okay? And my professor taught Garth Brooks at Oklahoma State.
No way.
Which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And so I had told her, I didn't know it was going to be country music that I was going to be able to be in professionally.
Yeah.
But I was really struggling in there, and she was super sweet, like the sweetest lady. And I cannot remember her name. But I told her she's like, well, what do you want to do? You know, like, what are you striving for? And I basically told her, I'm like, I'm at college until I can figure out how to get on the road, you know. And so she was super kind with me, and she made a 60. You had to have a C to pass. Mm-hmm. And she made a 60 to a 70 a C. And I made a 61 in the class. So she hooked me up so I could pass that class. Anyway, I know that was a long side story, but...
I bet you're the same way, though. I had a few high school classes where I kind of just charm them into, just boosting that 1%, just...
For real, but she was so cool, man. She was so cool. And yeah, she curved everything. So it was like, okay, I'm going to make 60 to 70 C so you can get out of here, basically. so shout out to her.
There's nothing like I feel like a bassist and drummer's, connection is so important.
I agree.
Between your brother and your dad, who has the tightest connection? Like when you're drumming with them.
Oh man, that's tough. I haven't gotten to play with Dad in a while, because he's kind of settled back into Garrett's got kids, and so he just likes watching us and watching grandkids play. But I mean, Garrett and I just have we just played forever together. Yeah, and so. I'm just going to have to say my brother just because, we play with Dylan together. We play at church together. We play, so many things we do. We even, there's some new artists. Trevor Martin's one of them. He's a good buddy of ours who's starting to get going in town. Yeah. And we played on all his records, and we just get to do it together. So it's not fair that we're blood and we get to do everything together, you know?
Yeah.
So I might say Garrett. Yeah.
Now, was it high school years? Did you guys start doing anything locally, or was it just church at that point?
So church is super important to us, and if you've ever seen our social media or whatever thing, we follow Jesus, and church is a lot of guys say that they got started in church, and I hate that because when Garrett and I are home, we're still playing at church because that's important to us, Right. And so I don't want to use the term or the verbiage "started in church" because we're still playing in church. Yeah. So we did play. We played worship on Sunday mornings and Wednesday nights and youth group and all that kind of stuff. And then we actually had a little rock band called Micah, and it was me, Garrett, Garrett's wife, my sister-in-law, Jack, JCQ, Jack. JCQ. Yeah, Jack, short for Jacqueline. Yeah. And another buddy of ours played guitar, and we just were probably maybe a little too much like Paramore, but that vibe, pop punk, kind of rock type thing. And we did that. Man, we did that from I was in middle school until I was a freshman in college. And the guy that played guitar with us moved to Louisville, Kentucky, which is a couple hours away from us, so we're I guess the band's over. So that was kind of a sad, everybody that's been in their first rock band or band was when it ends, it's heartbreaking or whatever. Totally. But what's funny about that, so Garrett and Jack and I regrouped and started what now is Cline Music. Right, yeah. Which is our worship project. And that's what we've been doing. For sure. Yeah. Now,
coming out of high school, you were talking about how you went to school. Yeah. Went to school for marketing, right?
I went to school for marketing, and so my brother Garrett actually finished. He actually has this master's degree. The dude's stupid smart and works hard. And I got 2 years in and then dipped out. But yeah, marketing was my original goal.
Now, did you have some thought into it, like, this is going to help me maybe grow my music career? Is this like something your parents are like, you just go into marketing?
Man, no, man, my parents are this, I know everybody says this, or most people say this, and I do feel bad for the people that can't say this, but my parents are the best parents in the world.
Yeah.
And my mom and dad encouraged me to go to college because I didn't have anything going on musically, like professionally. Mm-hmm. And they were super generous, helped me pay for it, got me through, you know. And I was just going kind of like, just, I don't know the best way to describe it. I wasn't going for the sake of just going, but I just knew it wasn't the end game.
Yeah.
Like, I knew music was... It was my passion and what I feel called to do, and I knew it was going to work out. But going to school, I picked marketing because I do like that aspect of business. Mm-hmm. And I never got high enough in any classes to actually learn anything.
All the prereqs.
Yeah, all the prereq stuff. But what college did teach me is like how to be on time. Mm-hmm. You know, like that's pretty big in this industry, being on time. Like people really respect folks that are on time.
For sure.
Surprisingly enough. And man, it bought me time to just to be better at drums, and I didn't have to work a full-time job. And so, like, man, I would go to class for a couple hours a day, and then I would be working in Ableton. That's where I learned how to run Ableton and do tracks and mm-hmm. record myself, and this became a better drummer during that time. We had Garrett and Jack rented a house like a block off campus. We went to Western Kentucky University in Bowling Green. And we had a studio set up in their house. We had like a console, like seriously like a console and like the whole 9 yards. Jeez. And so, man, I just like, I honed my skills. And so when I got the call from Dylan, I immediately could like get Ableton rolling. Yeah. They weren't using Ableton at the time. You know, a lot of those things that a lot of drummers kind of, it falls on the drummer to be responsible for in this industry. Mm-hmm. I just really learned during that time. So not so much the actual school curriculum that I learned, but all the stuff, it bought me time to be able to have time to learn all the importance. Totally. Ended up being important for me. Yeah. If that makes any sense.
No, it totally does. Yeah. Now, how do you get a call from Dylan Scott? I mean, like, you're nowhere near Nashville at this point.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
So, like, what's that like? You're sitting in your dorm? Like,
so, yeah. So, what's funny about growing up in Franklin and Bowling Green, they're really pretty much the same place. Bowling Green's the big city. Mm-hmm. And so we're only 45 minutes north of Nashville. So I grew up going to Nashville a ton. Had made some friends in Nashville, but also on the side of like, man, I feel like everybody in Nashville gets in their little clique, and I don't know. This didn't seem attractive to me. I don't know. Yeah. I can't describe it. And so I didn't want to move. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to move to Nashville. But it was a summer in between. I had finished 2 years at Western. And Garrett actually got a phone call. We were playing a youth camp. Klein was playing a youth camp in Nashville at Vandy. Okay. Ironically enough.
Yeah.
And our really good buddy, Dallas Wilson. So Dallas is a songwriter in town. His dad's Lonnie Wilson, who's wrote and played drums on like a billion #1 country songs. And this sweet people met Dallas at WKU. So Dallas came to WKU to be a film major. Okay. Dallas, where I don't know if you know Dallas or not, he wrote Nobody.
Oh, yeah.
Wrote a ton of Mitchell Tenpenny songs, has written a ton of Dylan songs with Dylan, and this fantastic guy. Dylan had this thing, they had been touring for like, I want to say a year or so. They had really just started traveling. This is like 2014. Okay. And so Dylan had a song called Making This Boy Go Crazy out at the time. That was his single. And his whole band, except for his brother Logan, who's a long-haired, awesome shredder on stage. That's Dylan's brother.
Oh, okay.
They all left to go do another gig. It was kind of a weird thing. Weird. And they had a drummer come in, but needed a bass player, and Dallas and Lonnie recommended Garrett.
Oh, no way.
And so Dylan called Garrett literally. It was like, hey, like, if you want the job, it's yours. And Garrett's like, okay, yeah, sounds good. Wow. And no tryout or anything. And so I'll never forget it because it was such a cool moment because Garrett and I just dreamed of touring our entire life. It's what we wanted to do, you know?
Right.
And I'm not going to lie, I was a little bummed like that I didn't get the call to, you know, yet at least I didn't know. And so they actually flew out to California out here to open up for Little Big Town.
Okay.
And they had a drummer, and on the way back, I think Garrett was in the airport. They were in the airport on their way back, and Garrett's like, hey, Dylan's going to call you, like, tomorrow. I just want you to know. I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'll never forget it. I was sitting in Franklin, Kentucky at the Mexican restaurant with my parents eating. And was like, oh, okay, cool. And so basically that drummer, this really was a nice guy, I think. This didn't work out. Yeah. You know, and didn't know Ableton. Mm-hmm. That was kind of a big thing. And I did know Ableton well. And so Dylan called me like that Monday or Tuesday. I was like, hey, man, you know, your brother speaks highly of you, which is nice to have my brother, you know. Yeah. And I was like, that sounds awesome. And so Dylan Logan and the other guitar player at the time, because it was a super small camp at that time. I mean, it was just like 4 of us, 5 of us driving a van. Came down to Bowling Green, and we rehearsed at my church.
No way.
And I've been with Dylan ever since. And so shout out to Dallas and Lonnie for recommending us, and we're this really sweet guys, man. Dallas, if you can ever get Dallas on here, man, he's just like the sweetest guy.
Dallas, you heard? Come on the show.
I bet he will too. He's a super awesome guy, super talented, man. That's number ones left and right now. But man, that's the origin story, and so we've been with Dylan now for going on 9 years. Yeah. So pretty wild. Been a wild ride.
So what does it mean to you to get trusted to play on some of his session stuff too? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like some guys only get to play on the road, but like you literally have number ones to your name now. Like,
it's crazy, man. It's humbling, and it's gosh, man, this like big shout out to Dylan and the guys that were producing him at the time.
For sure.
One of the main guys producing him at the time just really came and watched us play and like just kind of liked the grit of what we did live. Mm-hmm. And so, man, they invited us to come in and were super patient with us. And man, over the course of like a year, we made that first album, Dylan Scott debut album. Mm-hmm. And or the self-titled one. I think we recorded like 25 songs for that album. I mean, we were in the studio like every other week doing 3 or 4 songs a week in between van touring, which I don't know if you've ever done van touring, but it's not easy.
I bet.
You know, it's because, you know, you're driving yourself, you know, like on a bus, or even I know this week's a different situation because we're in LA starting this tour. But like the bus came out here and we flew out here and met the bus. So I didn't lose a day at home. Right. You know. That's smart. In the van, you know, it's like, all right, man, we gotta head to LA. Okay, we're gonna start.
We're leaving 4 days.
Sunday. Yeah, we're gonna head out here Sunday.
Oh my gosh.
So man, but yeah, they were the super generous. Jim Ed Norman is the guy's name, and he's just a legend. Look him up. Yeah. In the industry, he's super cool. It's like, I feel like he's our musical granddad, kind of. Like, he's a super sweet. But he just took time and worked with us, and this taught us so much. And him and then 2 of the engineers over at Curb Studios, Dave and Craig, that are still there. They're just really sweet guys and good friends of ours. Mm-hmm. Just really patient with us, you know. Yeah. And we got to make that first record. And then I also played on the Nothing to Do Town EP. Right. You know, so it's got Nothing to Do Town, Nobody on it. And so
all bangers.
This really, really fortunate. The track on that EP that is a sleeper is Look at Us Now. That's got we did like 4 drum takes on that, and they're all in there.
No way.
In there, like 4 different parts.
I'm going to re-listen to it now.
Listen to it. Really fortunate. And so this is really cool. So I've gotten to be a part of like 5 top 40 singles, and almost 3 of those being number ones, and it's just really cool thing.
I bet.
Yeah.
Now, what's it mean to you to be back in LA tonight? Because I mean, it seems like it's a special place for you. It was when you got called out, and I saw that this is like where the first time you guys heard yourself on the radio.
Oh,
too,
gosh,
was out in LA. Like, yeah. So what's it mean to be out here playing the Belasco tonight?
Dude, I love LA. Like my favorite band for the past probably 3 or 4 years is that band Lanny.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know those guys.
Oh yeah.
And so they're LA based, super LA based, and all their songs have like that LA touch. And so I've just kind of like become fascinated with LA. Yeah. Yeah. It's just cool because like growing up in Kentucky, Franklin, it's like I always knew I wanted to do this, but like when you come to Los Angeles or New York City or Chicago, and you're like, dang, I'm really doing this. Yeah. This is kind of wild. And so LA always feels like that for me. Mm-hmm. Also cool now too is a really good buddy of ours, Myers Leonard, lives here now.
Oh really?
He's a good buddy of ours and plays in the NBA, basketball player, and so he just comes and hangs all day. So this makes the day better because tour can get monotonous. I mean, it's super cool. But we've been doing this. The core group of us have been doing this for almost 9 years together now, and so you gotta find new things to enjoy about every time. I've been to LA a million times, right. And so it's you find something new to enjoy every time. Yeah. And so today was man, he came and hung out, and then got to do this with you today. So it's made a whole new special thing. Hearing ourselves on the radio the first time though was awesome. We went to a Dodgers game. Mm-hmm. We were flew out here to do something, and then had a day off. And so somebody at Dylan's label had a connection to get us to a Dodgers game. Yeah. Big baseball fan. Gary and I both are. And Dylan sang the national anthem that night. Okay, cool. My Girl was on the climb to number 1. So it hadn't gone number 1 yet, but it was top 10, right. Maybe top 5 at the time. And we were driving to the game in traffic, and it comes on the radio, and we're like, holy crap, that's freaking awesome. Well, then we walk into the stadium and get all set down, and I've got 3 Dodger dogs. If you don't know about Dodger dogs, they're the best hot dogs in baseball. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah, right? I just had one. It was fire.
Okay, see, exactly.
Yeah.
And
well, not as good as Busch Stadium, though. Busch
Stadium's go-karts. That's what I was going to say. But then they start playing My Girl over the system in Dodger Stadium. I'm just gosh. That is, that's like me playing drums. That is crazy. And none of that would have happened if Dylan wouldn't have been let's bring my guys into the studio, So, right. Shout out to him. This being really super cool and letting us, grind in there with him. But yeah, LA's just always cool. We played the Troubadour here, which is a legendary...
Smaller than I thought it was.
Really small.
Yeah.
We played Staples Center before it turned to Cryptocurrency Arena or whatever it is.
It'll always be Staples Center.
With Luke last year.
Yeah.
Dude, that was just so freaking cool. And then we were supposed to come out here in 2020 and play. I forgot what we were supposed to play, and then of course world shut down. Yeah. So it's really cool to be in proper downtown LA playing a headline show tonight.
For sure.
Played in Anaheim in the spring, and that was super cool. Sold out at the House of Blues, and they gave us these skateboard decks. You ever seen those?
Oh yeah,
that's super cool. But I love it. I love LA.
I mean, that has to pump you up too. I literally just walked in. There's literally girls wrapped around the building, just waiting to come in.
It's wild, man, and it's been so cool to be beside Dylan and behind him and be with him, and he's brought us along with the growth. I mean, seriously, I can't say enough good things about him and how he's just taking care of me and the rest of the band guys and let us be a part of this. It's not just. It's not just I work for Dylan Scott. He makes it feel like I am a part of this, all of us. And I can't say enough good things about him in that respect. And it's cool, man, because we started driving this little black E350 Ford diesel van for 3 years and grinding it out. And we just did it the old school way. And radio loves Dylan now, he's had another number 1 new truck and it's just but it just took a long time to get there,
right.
And so, man, we've played to 20 people, we've played to 5 people, we've showed up and played for 100 people, and then it's cool to go from there to then we went to the Sprinter van, and then finally the tour buses and stuff,
right.
and being able to play a sold out show in Los Angeles, and I think the whole this weekend sold out.
Wow,
it's crazy, dude.
That's awesome.
we're playing here in Bakersfield and Phoenix, Arizona. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's just so cool. It's hard to describe the feeling because we still kind of I'm starting to get the jitter now. It's 6:05. We play at 9. I'm man, is anybody even gonna be here tonight? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's you said there's people lined up around the corner. So.
Oh yeah.
Man, but this back to Dylan. I can't say enough good things about this him letting us be a part of this.
For sure.
Yeah.
Now you're talking about all the road gigs you've done and traveling with Luke Bryan and stuff.
Yeah.
My question is even with all the festivals you've done, who has the rowdiest band in country music?
Rowdiest.
Just backstage, they're going crazy.
That is funny. I could get in trouble with this. Rowdiest band. Our whole crew we're pretty tame.
Yeah.
Pretty much all of us are married or I'm engaged. And I'm already an old man anyway. I just turned 30, so like I'm already running on 80-year-old knees.
Oh, that's not true.
Yeah, it is. So I'm trying to think. We're gonna have to come back to that one.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Gosh, I don't know.
He was about to say somebody.
Yeah, I don't want to get anybody in trouble.
I'm kidding.
I will say,
right.
let me answer it with this, though. The best tour we've ever done is that Luke Bryan tour last year.
Sure.
Man, they are the sweetest people in the freaking world. Mm-hmm. Kent Schlusser, Luke's drummer, just, like, put me under his wing. I learned so much from him on that tour.
Yeah.
We all did, man. I feel like Dylan learned so much from Luke, and it's so cool because Luke is like kind of like the biggest thing in country music still.
Oh, right.
He's been around for so long and he's still one of the top guys.
Yeah.
And man, you would think we didn't know what it was going to be like going into that tour. Like, is it going to be kind of like, there's some tours that you do and it's kind of like, hey, you need to stay in your side of the green room in that area. And no. It's all doors open. We're a family. It was super cool.
That's awesome.
I don't know if I know the rowdiest. I'll tell you the rowdiest tour is Farm Tour. Farm Tour is crazy. We did a farm tour with Luke last year.
Jeez.
And man, the amount of people that show up in the middle of nowhere is wild.
I bet.
Yeah.
Now, I like to close all my interviews by asking, what's a piece of advice you've learned along your journey that you'd give to someone younger, like looking up to you right now?
Oh, man, I've heard this a lot lately, and so it's not an original thing, but it's true, is bloom where you're planted. Like you can look at my life and my story so far, my journey in life, is I didn't drop everything and move to Nashville because I didn't feel like that was the right thing to do. And here I am, working in Nashville every week with a gig with a guy that's been very successful. We can so easily get distracted by like what's next for me. Like even with you with this podcast, how do I grow this podcast? Is there another podcast that I could jump on? Yeah. And you can apply that to anything in life, whether you're working at a 9 to 5 or are a musician or you're doing a podcast or you're an artist. I mean, it's all those things, and really this being thankful and having gratitude for where you are right now.
For sure.
And I've been extremely guilty over my journey doing this professionally, going, well, if we could only get to this, if Dylan could only have this many hits, or if I could only have this endorsement, or if I could only, and man, you miss out on so much amazing things God's doing around you when you do that.
Yeah.
And so bloom when you're planted. That's kind of been my life motto. And so many things in my life have God has worked out because I was just patient and stayed planted where I was. I've gotten to be a part of quadruple platinum songs. I've met my future wife just right where I was planted. There's just so many things. I mean, I could list a million things and you would have to like edit all this. I don't want to do that. But that's I would say that's my solid piece of advice. And this is a side note. I think this is given. Man, this would be cool. So many people in our generation. How old are you?
20.
So you're 20. So I've got a decade on you. So I'm speaking to your generation right now. Because it doesn't seem like that big of a gap, but it is. It's crazy. Like, life for 20 to 22-year-olds. We have a couple of 21-year-olds traveling with us on the bus, and like that's when I realized I was like, okay, I'm like getting older. Like things are different now. Mm-hmm. Man, this dadgummit, be nice to people.
Yeah.
Don't be arrogant. I ruined so many friendships or could have been friendships by letting my arrogance get the best of me. Mm-hmm. Just be humble and be kind. Be nice to people.
Yeah.
Put your yes on the table. Somebody asks you messaged me randomly about doing this podcast. Like, heck yeah, why not? For sure. So you just never know. You just never know if you just be kind and have your yes on the table, what God's gonna do.
For sure.
And so that's my other side piece of advice after the bloom.
Just be nice, right?
This be cool, dude. This be cool. That should be a T-shirt.
That's cool.
Side note, your C4th app.
Yeah.
I don't know those guys, but I got on some random Spotify playlist the other day, and Queen of Daytona Beach was on it.
Oh,
that is a fire song.
Dude, you have to check out their new one. They have That's What I Get for Loving You.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to check it out.
They'll have you crying.
Okay, cool.
Well, guys,
I'm going to check it out.
This has been an awesome podcast. Darrick, thanks again so much for coming on the show.
Thanks, man.
Tons of good information in this one, guys. Thanks for watching.
Peace out.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment, and check out my music on all streaming platforms at Justin McCormick. See you guys next time.